So I'm glad everyone is participating. Fantastic. Can you share the screen? I see the screen. I see everyone says yes. All right. And today, please participate. It will be nice to hear from you. I see there are some people from the last session that's here. And let me just see, where is the pane? Okay, there we go. So I see there's people from last week that's here. There's some new people. So this is going to be fantastic. So well done for people who's done all 3 sessions. By show of hands, let me see who's done this last week and the week before, or even if you've just done 2 out of the 3 as well. Okay, let me see. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. So for you guys who put your hands up, am I right if I say you would like to know about my blood test? I promised everyone I'll share the result of my blood test. So just before we formally start, I want to tell you quickly what has happened. I did tell you I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. So I went on a specific diet, or not a diet, lifestyle change, to see whether I can make a change to my immune system, because the autoimmune disease, it comes down to your immune system. So I researched a whole bunch of stuff. I got the blood that shows you the markers, and it's been 3 months where I did no sugar, no bread, no pastas, things like that, only meat and vegetables. And the markers it's supposed to go up. So you have a range. Mine was extremely low. Mine was below average. So it would indicate it was not functioning optimally, and you need to be in the mid-range. And I've already went up from 0.80 to 0.89. I'm supposed to be between 0.90 and something like 1.80. So I'm now on the border of the below average. So it went up with a few points. So not there yet, but on 2 of the markers, a definite upwards change. So I was also told I mustn't get too excited, because these things fluctuate. Apparently, they say I've got no control over it. But after the research I've done, I do not agree. I've heard about people with certain lifestyles that actually they change the autoimmune disease around. So that counts for diabetes, or even if you're insulin resistant, if you don't have diabetes yet. But there's a lot of things that I am convinced. But now remember, I'm a layman like you. I'm not a doctor. Maybe we've got doctors in the audience. So don't take my word as if I'm a doctor. I'm not a doctor. I've just done a hell of a lot of research, and I refuse to believe that what I eat does not have an impact on my body. I don't believe that. So after 3 months, the markers are positive. I'm going to do it now every few months. But for you guys who attends my courses, I will give you updates, and remind me to share it with you. Maybe I've got an update for you. So don't think I'm going to be offended if you ask. If you ask me randomly about my blood test, you are welcome. I don't mind. If good things happen and I can influence people or just tell them about positive things, I'm happy. So welcome everyone. Welcome for everyone that's here. Just let me see quickly. It did affect my cholesterol, and then I did hear that there's some controversial things about cholesterol. So I would urge you to do your own research on the cholesterol, because what I'm saying is people don't like it, but I'm going to give you the name of, write this down. This is research that you can do on your own with regards to your healthy eating, because if you do keto, the cholesterol will go up. There's no other way. So now it's a controversy about it must be low, but what if it's high? So there's more research by Dr. Berg. So it's an American chiropractor. He spoke to Dr. Nadir Ali. He's a cardiologist. So the research are with real real doctors. I'm going to type it here in the chat box for you. So research, Dr. Berg, there's the first one, and he's got a conversation that he has with cardiologist Dr. Nadir Ali. Very, very good research. But just remember, I think probably if you just want to make a change, if you just look at your sugar intake, once you start researching, no, not even researching, just read the labels on bottles and sources and stuff. There is sugar everywhere. It is so ridiculous that when I stopped also all other stuff and I just did vegetables and the meat, the thing is now I'm just so aware of everything that's full of sugar. It is ridiculous. So another blood test showed I've got absolutely no inflammation in my body. So, but remember that an autoimmune disease is not going to change just in 3 months. You will have significant positive impact on your pain. But one has to try the process. You might do trial and error. I'm researching. I'm trying to see where I get to, but at least the pain in my knees and my elbow, I had an incredibly bad tennis elbow. This is all stopped. Here and there's a creak or two, but apart from that, it had a positive effect that I was hoping for. And but I'm doing more research and I'll share it with you. And like I said, don't feel bad to ask me if you see me on one of these webinars again. And I'm just going through all the notes here. I will be glad to share it with you. Because I told you in the previous 2 sessions, this year, we look at the stress management, but I want you to look at your physical body. Once you start tuning in on the punishment that you're putting your body through, then you realize how hard it is that you're making it just for your immune system. The poor immune system is working itself to death. So I'm going on a silence meditation course from Thursday to Sunday. So now inevitably I started weaning myself off caffeine so that when I get there, it's not so much for me all at once. And let me tell you, yesterday I thought literally I was physically sick. The headache, my body ached, everything. And I know that's the caffeine. So today I feel fantastic because now I'm free. I'm not jittery. But please don't think I'm judging any one of you. I'm also a coffee addict. I do control it. I just have 2 caffeine coffees a day. And let me tell you that it has a very big effect on your central nervous system. So that's when you get fidgety and irritated and that. So, but I try, I sin a little and then I clean up a little bit and then like I told you before, it's a cup of coffee. It's not a crack pipe. So I was thinking, sometimes, we have our crutches, but be aware of the punishment you put your body through. Just get into, remember, as soon as you replace one habit with another habit, the new habit is the thing. You think you can't live without this habit, but a habit is just a habit. It doesn't matter if you have a no sugar habit, it's going to become your habit, and you are not going to want to do something else. So you just sometimes think that there are things that you can't do without. Right, let's get started. I just want to minimize that, but please chat, put your notes in the chat box as we go along. So you know who I am by now, Celia Denton. I have a psychometric practice. We do psychometric assessments for organizations. This is why I know people are stressed and we are worried. And I told you the last session, we did research. 57% of all South Africans are not dealing with their stress very well, where in the past, before COVID, they did pretty well. So I'm talking about our normal people here, like me and you. So we are much higher now than we were before COVID. So we think COVID is over. We're in a good place now. It's almost like that, the wave of the tsunami came, it caused the destruction, but it's still the aftermath that we are in right now. So what I want you to do is just become still in your head and decide, acknowledge, where am I? How am I feeling right now? What do I need to change? And you will see every time I tell you, your stress won't be better if you don't do something different today from what you did yesterday. So small little changes, maybe cutting down a little bit on the coffee, incorporating more water. You know that water takes oxygen through the blood to the brain in a daily basis. I also read that the kidneys, the body, takes a whole day to work through 1 cup of coffee with caffeine, and still we pound it. So I'm not saying stop, I'm just saying just keep an eye on it. So with this keto diet that I went on now, I didn't tell myself you are never ever allowed a glass of champagne or a chocolate again. I said to myself, if you feel you want to have a bite, have it. You can go have anything that you want. But I got into the sink of things, and I'm so calm about it now. I don't know. It's I think because the blood sugar levels stabilizes, because that stabilize, the cravings also go. So together, I must also tell you what you need to research as well is fasting, not starving, fasting. You must have heard about this. So keto with fasting, it does miracles. I think that's why I've got no inflammation. But on the autoimmune, I'm keeping an eye on that. I'm going to use this whole year for that. It's only been 3 months, but I can tell you the majority of the pain is gone. So I'm happy where I am right now. Okay, so thank you to the HR Talk that always arranges the webinars for us. There on my websites if you want to go and look at that or make contact with us. So let's just recap from the last time. So what is stress? Stress is the body's reaction to any change that requires adjustment. So think about it. When COVID came, there was a massive adjustment needed. An adjustment that I don't even know whether most of us understood it. I see now when I read a book, I read a book by Linda LaPlante, Summer for Relaxation, and she refers to in the book, part of the story, she'll say, after the country came out of lockdown. So I'm just thinking in 50 years from now, when someone reads that book, they're going to think, what's lockdown? What did they mean by lockdown? What does that even mean? So we did go through quite an unusual, unique thing. It was a massive change. Just acknowledge these changes that happened and the things that happened because of that. People losing jobs, taking salary cuts, that thing where you get an account for something, an invoice, an account, and your salary is only this big, and you're getting invoices and whatever, that play all the time. Is there enough money? Is there enough money? So you need to adjust constantly. The body reacts to these changes with a physical, a mental, and emotional response. It's a normal part of life. But you can experience stress from your environment, your body, and your thoughts. And remember, I always reiterate the thoughts, because when you feel like you're overwhelmed, you can't take it anymore, it's mostly from your thoughts. Because I can tell you now, I'm going to go on this silence course now in the next few days. By Monday, when I get back, my state is going to be totally different. I'm going to be thinking by myself, and I always do this after a silence course. I think, nothing is this serious. I have a few more decaf coffees. I'll have more water. The eating will be better. And then slowly as time progresses, we get caught up in the rat race again. You have to do this. You have to answer that. You have to do, and then you work yourself up again. But it all happens here. Then you go on a meditation course again, maybe, or you relax again, or a holiday. And then so it goes in cycles like that. So know that most things comes and it goes. Something stays, you have to accept it. Something goes. Things also, it just goes as well. All right, then let's just quickly look at the emotional, physical, cognitive, behavioral symptoms. So the emotional symptoms, it's when you feel overwhelmed. Physical symptoms, your muscles are tight. This is unfortunately also where the immune system suffers. The immune system suffers terribly if your hormones are out of whack because of all the cortisol and things that's getting secreted because of the stress, but also throwing caffeine and those type of things on top of it. So the physical body struggles terribly. Sometimes our livers and things struggle. You don't know it. You just carry on until you get a diagnosis, and that says you're sick. Cognitive symptoms, a typical one would be when you go blank, you can't remember, you feel flustered. Behavioral would be driving erratically, swearing, just being irritated and doing things to try and make up for the feelings that you have. So remember the four, and you will have a combination of them. Very few people have just got only one. Unfortunately, sometimes the body takes a massive hammering because when the immune system starts suffering, and then you're struggling to get toxins out of your body. And what we do, we throw caffeine, sugar, and crap on top of it. So it's already struggling, and we're feeding it the bad stuff. Then we get external and internal stressors. So external is anything that you cannot control. Those are deaths, injuries, illness, relationship breakdowns, being victims of a crime, retirement. So there could be things in there that you don't even think is stressful, but it is. And then internal expectations, demands, misperceptions, assumptions, fear, anger, all the things that we are probably also exaggerating with our own thoughts as well. Our own thoughts can be quite a big thing. So be very much aware of the words that you use. I know someone that you would just be talking and the person would say, oh, that is a very big problem. It's when the words comes out, I can almost feel the panic in my body. And then I realized, no, it's not, these things happen. So for example, on Saturday, the guy that works in my garden, he cut up my fiber line. And for a second there, I thought, no, I have to deal with this as well. I think I sorted it out in an hour or two. Someone came, they fixed it, and it's fixed. It was not a problem. So be aware of the words that you use, that it's a very, very big problem. It's not just a problem, it's a very big problem. And it always happens to me. And I never get the raise. Those words, the impact that become aware of what your body does and your head does when you speak like that. And we all do that. Even myself, when I know I'm now just all over the show, then I do the same thing. So be aware of that. Right. Last week, I also told you there's a difference between stress, worry, and anxiety. And I want to go through the three again, because stress happens in the body. It's an emotional response. Let me just move something here. So it's an emotional response. It's usually caused by external triggers. So that could be exams, traffic, boyfriend, girlfriend problems, poverty, unfairness at work. Your usual. We've got a lot of them. We can just add to the list. I want you to start thinking about what is current in your life right now. Like if you had to look at my little list, what would be the top 4 for you right now? And then the second one is worry. Worry is different from stress in the sense that it's mostly internal thinking that happens in the mind. It's often triggered by something that's real in life, for example, getting cancer, losing a job. And I must tell you, when they told me about this autoimmune thing, because I don't understand what's going on, I'm like waiting for the blood results and the verdict. And I mean, autoimmune is not cancer or something more serious. You can actually deal with it, but the waiting, it's incredible how you get sort of panic, but you don't even realize it. So become aware when you feel flustered. Trace it back. When you feel flustered like that, take it back. What happened just now? What was the conversation? What was the email that you got? What was the response that you got? And you'll be able to trace it. And therefore, I want you to start becoming aware of your own process and thinking. But worry it's caused by a real thing, but followed by our unreal and imagined thinking of what could happen and what will possibly happen in the future. So worry is defined by internal thinking about problems or unpleasant things that may happen, and this causes you to feel fearful and unhappy. So it hasn't happened yet. So this is the big thing with worry. Worry hasn't happened yet. But often it's enmeshed into, the stress and the worry is enmeshed into. Also, don't think that I'm saying that you're not allowed to worry. Responsible people worry, accountable people worry, concerned people, just reasonable people worry, but keep an eye on your worry. So the worry's got a good function, but you don't want it to go into dysfunction. So it's like the immune system, you don't want it to go into autoimmune, where it overworks, where it overprotects and produces and actually causes harm. It's the same principle. So keep an eye on your worry, but you want to separate the stress that's causing the worry with how far do you take it? Because often we can't sleep because we're running with that thought in our heads. We're running with it. And then the third one is anxiety. So this is how everything links together. Anxiety happens in the mind and the body and is caused by persistent, excessive worrying about things. Interestingly enough, anxiety can also happen when there are no stressors. So on the other hand, a buildup of a lot of stresses over a long period of time can cause anxiety. But can you see that it says here there doesn't have to be a stressor? You can have high levels of anxiety with no stressor. That tells us that you are in more control than you think you are. So if you are an anxious person, go identify where it comes from, what's causing it. You could have childhood things that's programmed you. Never is anything going to be okay. Therefore, I'm anxious about it. Or you could just be someone, that's just my habit. That's just what I do. I sit and I dwell on negative things. But it can really also come from real stuff that's happening to you. But if I was you, I would start reading up on what is worry. What is it in me that causes me to think that I can't cope with it? What is in me that's making me use these very disastrous words? If you go write down things that's happening to you today and you read it in 2 weeks' time, you're going to see that every week you've got a new thing. It's not that you cannot deal with it. You may feel on the day that it's getting you down. But if you write down things, you'll see that that thing is blown over again. There's a new thing already. But we always think it's the end of the world. So monitor and track yourself. Monitor and track yourself. Then, one of the things that you can do, and this is what this session is about today, you can build your resilience. So I'm going to tell you about physical resilience, but also mental resilience. So we think resilience is only about mental. And I was quite surprised to see that you've got a physical resilience as well. So the physical resilience will go hand in hand with the way that you eat, that you sleep, that you exercise, and those type of things. And mental resilience, that is your ability to bounce back after something has happened. So resilience works like a muscle. We can build it through, let me just move this thing, effort and repetition. So just the same way that you would exercise in the gym or with Pilates or wherever, you practice it with effort and repetition. And we want to keep our muscles strong and flexible so that we can think of many ways to solve the problem. At the core, resilience is the belief that while you can't control everything in your life, there are many aspects you can control, including your attitude. So I just want to move this thing again. There's things that's in my view here. Right. Let me just go in a little bit more about resilience. So when you have resilience, you harness your inner strength that helps you to rebound from a setback or a challenge, such as a job loss, an illness, a disaster, or a loved one's death. If you lack resilience, you might dwell on a problem. You may feel victimized. You become overwhelmed or turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms like substance abuse or excess coffee or caffeine, just to feel better, Resilience won't make your problems go away, but resilience can give you the ability to see past them. So find enjoyment in life and better handle stress. So if you aren't as resilient as you like to be, you can develop skills to become more resilient. So Don't wish away problems, and don't wish that that things are easier or better. Acknowledge the things that's there, acknowledge how you feel about it, but keep an eye on how you dwell on it. So the sooner, the quicker you can bounce back from um, something that just made you feel very unhappy, the better your resilience is. But keep an eye on how you think about it, how you tolerate it, how you address it. I think I told you the last time when I started my business 20 years ago, I cold called people, and I called about 50 people a day. So if I was one of those that bothered you when you actually wanted to work on a Monday morning, I was the one calling you to see whether you wanted psychometric testing. And there's obviously, in that little exercise that I did, and I did it for a long period, probably like more than a year. So I'd call people, most people were negative. A lot of people were not really nasty, but the no's that I got obviously affects you. And then I realized it's just a statistical game, because when I found 50 people, 1 or 2 would be interested, and that was worth it for me. And then I realized the others are just saying no because they don't need it. It's not personal. So then I built my resilience, and I realized, listen, this is fine. When people don't want the offering or your product or your idea or your whatever at work, they're not rejecting you. They just don't have a need for it right now. So this is just an example for you I want you to start thinking about when you don't deal well with something. It's actually okay. It's normal and it's okay, and you can actually deal with it. And with time, as years went by, my business grew, and I realized all of that learning was so worth it. Because you do ask yourself, is it worth it to find 50 people and get one person that's interested? And yes, it is. It is. It is. It just doesn't feel like that at the moment. Let's look at adapting to adversity. Resilience is the ability to adapt to difficult situations. When stress and adversity or trauma strikes, you still experience anger, grief, and pain, but you're able to keep functioning. So remember, I'm not saying to you that you're not supposed to feel anger or pain or grief. That would be very untrue. Acknowledge those feelings. That's you. That's making you human. Of course, you're going to be disappointed after COVID when you lose your job or you get a salary cut. But this is now when your physical and psychological strength are tested. However, resilience isn't about putting up with something difficult or being stoic or figuring it out on your own. In fact, being able to reach out to others for support is a key part of resilience. All right, and then resilience. Why resilience is a good thing? Why do you want to practice that muscle? So resilience and mental health. So resilience can help you protect from various mental health conditions such as depression and anxiety. Resilience can also help offset factors that increase your risk of mental health conditions such as being bullied or previous trauma. So especially the older you're getting as well, can you see that even if something hectically is happening to you today, you've probably gone through very difficult things in the past, possibly even worse, maybe not as bad, but you've had things happen to you in the past. We often forget when we were teenagers what happened to us then. We forget because when you're in your 20s, that's probably some of the most difficult years because that's when you have to build up experience. No one wants to pay you. It's very tough. Don't forget your own competence and skills in the times when you actually had to pull it through. Don't forget about it. We forget about these things. You just think about your problem today. So most of you probably have had way worse in the past. Maybe we've got some new surprises. Yes. Like, for example, my autoimmune disease. I've had some previous things that I did treat with my diet. That worked. This is now a different ball game, but I'm ready to give it a go. But I do acknowledge my panic. And I acknowledge when I get, like, I would feel irritable and frustrated. And then I acknowledge it, and I do say to myself, then, yeah, but remember now, this is now an unknown territory. You don't know what's happening. So just acknowledge that you're feeling a little flustered as well. That's fine. Let's look at how mentally tough are you. Mental toughness is the ability to push through challenging, even painful situations and come out on the top. It includes qualities like grit and determination and is closely related to emotional intelligence. build self-awareness. That will probably be one of your biggest answers to this whole thing. Build your own self-awareness, because that's when you realize what's happening with you. You can even build your awareness to the point where if you say you've got an arthritis type of thing, or you've got an inflammation type of thing, whatever, and you eat cakes and cupcakes, try to become aware how your body feels right after it, or even the day after, because sometimes people don't even, they're so not aware of themselves. They're not aware that, oh, my wrists are feeling tighter today. I did A, B, and C yesterday. I feel my body feels like this today. We're not in tune. We're not in tune with how we physically feel after we've taken in something. Push through your limits. You just think you've got limits. You actually got far, far more limitations or limits than you think. Control your thoughts. So controlling your own thoughts is a very powerful thing. The thought is also the thing that gets you down quite easily. I always want to laugh when I say this now, because I'm telling you this, but I do the same thing sometimes. When there's disastrous thoughts, when you really feel sorry for yourself, but indulge for a few minutes and then pull yourself out of it. It's fine if you indulge in that negativity for a few minutes, but bounce back quickly. Have a plan. Do something different today from what you did yesterday. Also, another thing, if you feel like, because we spoke about reaching out to people, even on a physical illness side, research people that speak your language. And I'm going to tell you why I'm saying this. So I've been to a lot of doctors because of this autoimmune thing, and they all told me there's nothing I can do about it. I must either take their medicine, which is immune suppressants, or I don't know. They said you must just wait and see what happens. If you've got pain, you take this, otherwise you're screwed. So I researched and researched and researched and researched, and I found someone that treats these things, but the way that I like it. And the way that I like it is with my food. I want to know what I can physically, what I can control here to add to that. And I've with the research that I've done, I've found too many positive research articles showing you that it can be done, to just go with someone who says, well, you must just go home and whatever, if you have pain, you come in for medicine, and if you don't, you don't. Then I thought, okay, what can I do, and who speaks my language? And it's true as nuts, there are doctors out there that looks at it the way that I look at it. Then learn to focus. Focus, do one thing at a time. This little thing, it takes a lot of your energy. It takes a lot of that mental energy that you have. Take breaks from those things. Focus on one thing at a time and keep growing, keep developing, keep growing. Now, let's look at suppressing white bears. So what am I going to tell you about suppressing white bears today? So where the hell does this come from? How is this white bear applicable to you? So how do we control unwanted thoughts? So this is probably one of the biggest enemies that we've got. This is probably one of the biggest issues that we've got, is controlling what we are thinking. So a research study was conducted at a university by a psychologist, Daniel Wegner, and it delivered the following results. So he asked participants to verbalize their stream of consciousness for 5 minutes while not trying to think of a white bear. If a white bear came to mind, he told them to ring a bell. Despite the explicit instructions to avoid it, the participants thought of a white bear more than once per minute on average. So in an attempt not to think of the white bears, they actually thought of white bears more than once a minute. So that's quite a lot. So next, the psychologist asked the participants to do the same exercise, but this time to try to think of a white bear. So remember the previous one, you were not supposed to think of a white bear, and it popped up constantly. Now we told them, think of a white bear. So at that point, the participants thought of a white bear even more often than a different group of participants who had been told from the beginning to think of white bears. So the results suggested that suppressing the thought suppressing the thoughts for the first 5 minutes caused it to rebound even more prominently into participants' minds later. So over the next decade, Wegner developed his theory of ironic processes to explain why it's so hard to tamp down unwanted thoughts. He found evidence that when we try not to think of something, one part of our mind does avoid the forbidden thought, but another part checks in every so often to make sure that the thought is not coming up, therefore ironically coming up all the time. So I know that what I'm saying to you may be a little bit confusing, but in simple terms, if there's something negative that you're trying not to think of, when you are trying to willfully push it out and not think of it, the brain will actually remind you not to think of it, therefore bringing it up constantly. So what are we supposed to do? So there is a solution. It is so incredibly simple that you won't believe this. So pick up an absorbing distractor and focus on that instead. So in the study, Wegner and his colleagues asked participants to think of a red Volkswagen instead of a white bear. They found that giving the participants something else to focus on helped them to avoid the unwanted white bears. So in short, what this tells us, if someone upset you, and today I'm trying not to think of that person, but the more I'm trying not to think of it, I constantly think of the person. Replace the thought with something else. Don't try to suppress it. Even if you literally had to think of a red Volkswagen, think of a red Volkswagen. So you want to replace the thought with something else. Try to postpone the thought. So some research has found that asking people to simply set aside and half an hour a day for worrying allows them to avoid worrying during the rest of the day. So this is what we teach children when we teach them study methods. So when they get caught up, they're thinking of nonsense all the time and they're worrying constantly. We say to them, okay, it's now Saturday morning at 10. You're starting your studies now, but you can't focus because you're thinking of this thing constantly. Decide that 3 o'clock today is my worry time. I will worry about this at 3 o'clock today. And it actually, the fact that you're postponing it, you are allocating it a different time slot and a box actually helps. And then keep your promise. Think about your worry at 3 o'clock. Maybe phone someone if you need to, make your cup of tea, think about this thing, what you're going to do about it. But you can either replace the thought with something else or postpone the thought until 3 o'clock or whatever. Then cut back on multitasking. One study found that people under increased mental load show an increase of availability of thoughts of death, one of the great unwanted thoughts for most people. So that's quite a hectic finding in a study. So hopefully most of us that's currently mentally overloaded are not constantly thinking of death, because that you know what that tells me. I know it sounds quite exaggerated, but this is not untrue, because someone else actually told me the other day. She said, I'm caught up in a loop and I can't get out. I want to get out of the loop. I want to stop the loop. I can't get out. So this is actually not even a joke. As hectically as it sounds, if you are really overwhelmed and you really feel you can't do it anymore, it means that you need to stop and do one thing at a time. And you know what I find interesting? It's only February now, and I've spoken to a lot of people that's already under pressure and feeling that the wheels are coming off. It's only February. It's not even towards the end of the year where we can say, listen, don't worry, holiday's on its way. It's actually pretty hectic. So cut back on multitasking. Do one thing and tell people, stop, keep quiet, wait. I'm doing this thing, then that thing, then that thing. That really helps. If I do that, that really helps me a lot. Exposure. This is painful, Wegner said, but it can work. If you allow yourself time, if you allow yourself to think in controlled ways of the things that you want to avoid, then it will be less likely to pop back into your thoughts at other times. So if you allow yourself to think in controlled ways of the thing that you want to avoid, it will also be less likely to pop back in your mind. So what that means, exposure, it means acknowledging that thing, acknowledging it did happen, it really hurt you, it's painful, it's causing me anxiety right now, but acknowledge it. And then you can also try to postpone it or replace it with another thought. And then the thing that's incredibly helpful, of course, I'm going to say it's meditation and mindfulness. So there's evidence that these practices which strengthens mental control, may help people to avoid unwanted thoughts. So if you can learn to meditate, and the new word is mindfulness, it's awareness. And don't do meditation just on your own. If you can, you get it right, do it. A lot of people say that they can't sit still or they struggle to focus, whatever. Get someone to help you, to teach you how to do it. And this is where I want to bring up again the art of living. They teach people how to do breathing and meditation, and then you get these advanced courses. And I'm going on another advanced course this week, where I know it's going to literally calm and cleanse this thing. Just calm it down, just reboot, reset. And the reason why we call it a silence is going to be ooh, wow, look at that thing shining. Take a break from this thing for a few days. So it's just very good. So I'm going to repeat it again. Research www.theartofliving, and I think it's .org. So there's a South African site as well. They are worldwide. They teach you how to do meditation. They even have the yoga courses that focus on the physical body. So do yourself a favor into one of these. It is just the best. Right. What are we going to do? Let's focus on physical fitness. So physical fitness gets a lot of attention for good reason. So good physical health can prevent conditions such as heart disease or diabetes and help you maintain a long, independent life. And now diabetes and things like that, they've had excellent results with a keto diet. I'm not promoting specific diets. I'm just telling you what I've seen and heard from other people. Keto diet, which is vegetables and meat, has literally gotten people to turn around diabetes and insulin resistance. There's so many studies online, you cannot deny it even. But often neglected is mental fitness, having a healthy and strong mind to allow you to handle the challenges and opportunities that life put in front of you. So there's physical fitness, but also be aware of your mental fitness. But physical fitness, everyone is telling you to do exercise, and it's still the thing that we struggle to start with. Physical exercise is one of the only and best ways. I know meditation is now proven to also help with this. It can get the adrenal and cortisol hormones out of your blood. So I have some friends who they just run after work. They just never ever get sick. So the physical fitness thing really, it really is very, very important. But now you also want to start looking at your mental fitness. Then a common thought is that the absence of a mental health disorder means that a person is mentally fit and emotionally well. Now, this is where I want to speak to all of you out there, us mere mortals that are just normal people. Normal people, when I mean a normal guy that goes to work every day, I've got children, I've got my normal stressors. And I'm also talking to people that maybe have been diagnosed with a mental disorder. So I'm talking to the guys who's not been diagnosed with a mental health disorder and to the guys that has been. So, but what I want to tell you with this slide is that people that maybe does not have a history of something, you may be very surprised today, because now you may think, but I've never had stuff. I've never been on pills. But today, now I'm not doing well. That is very, very normal. So I'm going to read this again. A common thought is that the absence of a mental health disorder means that a person is mentally fit and emotionally well, but it's a dangerous misconception. So an individual can certainly experience periods of stress, discomfort, sadness, or anxiety without necessarily meeting the criteria for a mental health disorder. Mental wellness is a process, and just like physical health, it's an ongoing process. So remember, you can be up here. You can be mentally literally sick for a while. You can be. If I look back on my life, I think there was a period maybe about 10 years ago where there was a period where, if I look back now, I would say that I was mentally because of things that happened in that time period. I was sick. I was mentally sick, but we don't see it as that, because remember, you've never been diagnosed with something, so surely you can't be, it's just impossible, but it is possible. You can have your down times. It's like having flu. Your mind is just having flu for a while, and then you get better again. But don't think it's very strange how we don't judge flu and those type of things, but we think, oh, it's so bad if my mind is off. If this is not doing well for a period of time, then that's not supposed to be. Oh my God, that's very. It's your mind just have flu. Your psychologically you have flu for a while, and you will get better again. But you want to treat it. You want to look at doing things for it, and this is where your eating comes in. A little bit of the fitness. Learn about your own awareness, what you say to yourself. So it's just a different type of medication. But don't have a fright if your wheels are coming off right now. Don't think it's not supposed to be. Of course it's supposed to be. If you can get flu, this can also get flu. Then, unsurprisingly, trying or stressful times can be the ultimate test of mental fitness. When we are winded by a major life event, being able to recover quickly requires significant mental strength and psychological resilience. The benefits of being mentally fit means that we are able to use our mental abilities to our fullest extent, allowing us to be more creative, make the most of opportunities as they present themselves, and approach stressful situations more calmly and with less anxiety. So I meditate every day, but then every few months I'll go on a silence course to sort of reboot and recharge again. So I also, like all of you, go up and down, then I'm better, then I'm not, then I'm irritated, and then I'm not. And, we go up and down like that. It's fine. But you must have a plan. Have a plan for your physical body. Have a plan for this part of your body. Then, what can we do? Focus on one thing at a time. This thing, I just want to keep an eye on the time. I'm going to go quickly through this because there's an article I want to share with you quickly that I think you just need to know about. But one thing you can do, focus on one thing at a time. Multitasking is worn as a badge of honor, but multitasking too much is not healthy. Practice being present. When you are talking, when you are taking a walk, take in your surroundings, the weather, the birds. But what do? We take the phone with us. When you are spending time with your friends, really listen to what is said. Turn off your phone and try to forget the running to-do list in your head. So after work, when you finished work, you can do your to-do list while you're there at the office. When you've done your to-do list for the next day, put it away, and then you go into a different stage of your day. And that is the evening relaxation. Do one thing at a time. This is probably the most thing that causes overwhelmingness mostly. Then set time aside for your body to move your body. Physical and mental health goes hand in hand and should not be considered as separate, as poor mental health can lead to poor physical health and vice versa. So mental health is a process, and just like physical health, it's an ongoing process to maintain mental and emotional health, wellness. So like medicine in the treatment of mental illness, exercise can increase the levels of serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine in the brain. And remember, it also removes the unhealthy hormones from the brain. So then it improves and normalizes the neurotransmitter levels, which ultimately helps us feel mentally healthy. So other important benefits include enhanced mood and energy, reduced stress, deeper relaxation, improved mental clarity, learning, insight, memory, and cognitive functioning, enhanced intuition, creativity, assertiveness, and enthusiasm for life. So it impacts a whole bunch of things, and this is just moving your body. And think about ways you can move your body. It doesn't have to just be the old-fashioned, just always running or whatever. There's a lot of stuff you can do. Then give yourself a daily mindfulness break. Set aside 1 or 2 minutes each day to decompress. And I'm only saying 2 minutes a day. What I want to suggest to you, tea time or lunchtime or tea time afternoon at work, wherever you are, go make your cup of tea or your cup of coffee. Sit outside or wherever you are just with that cup. Sit with it without a phone, without people close by. Smell it, taste it, feel the heat of it, experience it, and just be with you and that cup of coffee. If you can start with that, you'll see that that first 10 minutes when you're sitting with that cup of tea, it's almost uncomfortable sometimes because we are so used to being busy, grabbing things, doing, checking, this and that. Start with that. If I can give you a challenge, start with that. Then just 1 week of a brief daily mindfulness meditation practice has been found to produce significant improvements in attention, energy, and stress. Research shows that these benefits are more than just subjective. Participants of a study experienced actual decreases in stress-controlled cortisol and improvement in their immune system. They also displayed improved visual-spatial processing, working memory, and executive functioning, important sets of mental skills that help you get things faster. Do not underestimate the effect that your diet has on that cognitive functioning of yours. When I don't once again want to promote any diets or anything here, but end of last year when I had my big fright, of course, I swapped to keto, and I was amazed that the forgetfulness just literally disappeared. It's quite ironic. I forgot to be forgetful. So, it was like my brain got energy because of obviously of the meat and the fat and stuff. It was incredible. So research your own stuff. Research vegetarian, Banting, keto. Go look at what it is that you enjoy, that you would like to pursue. But cutting out the sugar, you'll see that that's the irony. That's in all the diets. Then carve out self-care time. So give yourself an afternoon or an evening to engage in something that you genuinely enjoy doing. We don't do this anymore, that I can tell you. It can be exercising, reading, binge watching your favorite show. Well, that we do a lot of. But binge watching, the time just flies so quickly. But make a date with yourself to do something that's just fun for you. But do whatever it is that you like to do. If binge watching a series, if there's something you enjoy, or if you want to get into bed 6 o'clock in the evening with a book, do so. Do something that you love. Then set limits and time limits and stick with them. So living in a success-driven society has its advantages, but it also has its disadvantages like burnout. So which is a real concern when you're trying to have it all like a career, Instagram-worthy time, friends, a happy family life. Remember that it's okay to say no sometimes. You will see when you start feeling overwhelmed, it's because you have a hell of a lot of these things happening all at once. You're caught in the cycle, and you are allowed to sometimes stop that cycle, get off the wheel and say, okay, tonight I'm not going to do anything, and putting that phone away. So don't be afraid to reach out for help. Seeking help is often the first step towards getting and staying well. And therefore, I also want to tell you to make that appointment maybe with a psychologist to just go talk to someone, maybe a priceless exercise. A lot of people say to me, yeah, but what if I just don't have the money for it? You know, it is the irony. When you fix this, often the rest falls in place because you are sharper, clearer. Often that part takes care of itself on its own. So really, if you need to go speak to someone, go do it. Even if you have to save for it, plan for it, but go do it. Remember that it's okay to say no, but to put it simply, there's never a wrong time to seek help. Talking with someone about your thoughts and feelings can always help you to gain insight that will likely be beneficial in your life. So if you find yourself experiencing periods of stress or feeling angry, irritable, or sad, or easily frustrated, it would be a good thing to go seek help. This is also the time where go research meditation. Just being quiet by yourself can also help with this. Right. So now that we are at the end, we've got 4 minutes left, and I want to read an article to you. Let me just see. I don't know if you can see my screen now. You may be still, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I just want to go through the 7 types of rest that every person needs. You know what? I'm actually going to share this page with you. I quickly want to go through the 7 types of rest. Okay, you know it. When I say this, you are actually going to recognize it, but often we need to see it or just hear it to listen to it again. Okay, so have you ever tried to fix an ongoing lack of energy by getting more sleep, only to experience that you are still exhausted? So the secret is sleep and rest are not the same thing, although many of us incorrectly confuse the two. So we go through life thinking that we've rested because we've gotten enough sleep, but in reality, we are missing out on the other types of rest that we desperately need. The result is a culture of high achieving, high producing, chronically tired, and chronically burnt out individuals. We are suffering from a rest deficit because we don't understand the true power of rest. So rest should equal restoration in 7 key areas of our life. Okay, so let's look at this. The first type of rest that we need is physical rest, which can be passive or active. So passive physical rest includes sleeping and napping, while active rest means restorative activities such as yoga, stretching, or massage therapy that help improve the body circulation flexibility. So think about Pilates or just any type of physical exercise. The second type of rest is mental. Do you know that coworker who starts the work every day with a huge cup of coffee? He's often irritable, forgetful, and has a difficult time concentrating on his work. So when he lies down at night to sleep, he frequently struggles to turn off his brain as conversations from the day fills his thoughts. So you're probably thinking, well, that's not the other coworker, that's actually me. So we all do this. The caffeine, listen, it is like a crutch. I sometimes start with that just to get going. But this is often also what causes you to be irritable throughout the rest of the day. And remember the effect that caffeine has on your sleep. And so there could be a real mental rest deficit. So the good news is that you don't have to quit your job or going on vacation to fix this. Schedule short breaks to occur every 2 hours throughout the workday. These breaks can remind you to slow down. You might also keep a notepad by the bed to jot down any nagging thoughts that would keep you awake. All right, so those frequent rests. And what is a rest? You sit with your tea without the phone. Otherwise, it's not a rest. Otherwise, you just go sit somewhere else with your phone and keep yourself occupied. So don't fool yourself. If you're going to take those breaks, do it without the phone. Do it with just you and your head and your cup of tea. Third type of rest is sensory rest. Here we go back to the computers and the phones again. Bright lights, computer screens, background noise, multiple conversations, whether they're in an office or on Zoom calls, can cause the senses to feel overwhelmed. This can be countered by doing something as simple as closing your eyes for a minute in the middle of the day, as well as by intentionally unplugging from electronics at the end of the day. So intentional moments of sensory deprivation can begin to undo the damage inflicted by the overstimulating world. So last night, actually, I did not switch on the TV. I put my phone away and I took out the book very, very early, by 5 already. And I just late in the evening, I just felt better. I could feel really resting. So try these simple things. These things do not have to cost you money. But forget about that. We're paying for everything in our life. This is already with you, in you. It's right here. You must just apply it. Then creative rest. This type of rest is especially important for anyone who must solve problems or brainstorm new ideas. So creative rest awakens the awe and the wonder inside of us. Do you recall the first time you saw the Grand Canyon or the ocean or a waterfall or whatever, or a beautiful view? Whatever, allowing yourself to take in the beauty of the outdoors, even if it's at a local park or in your backyard, provides you with creative rest. And we underestimate these small little things. These are small things that we can do. I'm not going to read through everything because I want to get through it. Oh, it's already 10 o'clock. Let me just quickly go over the other rest. So emotional rest, which means having time and space to freely express your feelings and cut back on people pleasing. So emotional rest also requires the courage to be authentic. An emotionally rested person can answer the question, how are you today? And truthfully, I'm not okay. Then you're in need of emotional rest. You probably have a social rest deficit too. This occurs when we fail to differentiate between those relationships that revive us from those relationships that exhaust us. The final type of rest is spiritual rest. So I can tell you, I've got a plan for the rest of this week. You've all heard about these meditation things where you go away on a silence retreat. I cannot tell you how fantastic it is. It is like a spa for the soul. So because it's called the silence course, a lot of people think, oh, but I'm not going to talk for 4 days. You know, when you actually wish not to talk for 4 days, then you really you need spiritual rest. Learn how to meditate, how to do yoga. Spend an hour with yourself on a yoga mat a day. You can YouTube yoga. You can learn on YouTube how to meditate. And if you want someone to teach you, you go to the Art of Living to do it. But all of these things are around us. Once someone taught you how to do it, you can do it on your own. It costs nothing. We think that everything in this life is going to cost us something. We have to pay for it. We have to work for it. These things are in you. Putting your phone away, taking out a book, that's in you. It's already there. Just go tap into it. Be mindful and decide what it is that you're going to do. And one other thing, if I have to look at everything I told you today, do one thing at a time. Do one thing at a time, because that's when we feel overwhelmed, is when we do a lot of things. And listen, we can, because you've got a brain, you're intelligent, you can go like that. But the problem is that it packs up, it really builds on all the stress and the pressure. And what you can do is to just do one thing at a time and be aware of when you do things. So do one thing at a time, then you take your tea break just with your tea, and then one thing at a time again. There you go. Anyone who's got any questions or that's unclear about something, is there anything that I didn't answer or didn't talk about? Please share it in the chat group or the Q&A box. And really, I urge you to go do your own research. Go. I think last week I also told you about Dr. Gundry. I'm going to put his name. I think it's Gundry. I think they spell it Gundry like that. All of these guys talk about how you can eat yourself better. Read, listen, and then if you need more advice, go to your actual doctor and find a way to incorporate the way that you want to live. And do it like that. But cutting out your sugar will start fixing you today, even if you think, remember, I thought there was nothing wrong with me. I thought I was very, very healthy, and then I got this news. So we think we're okay, but we're putting a lot of pressure on ourselves. So, okay. So everyone, that was it for today. And if there's anyone who's got any questions, please let me know. I am going to send out a notification we will probably be doing emotional intelligence soon. Emotional intelligence links so well with the stress and your awareness. So I hope to see you there. And then we will talk about physical health again. We will continue it for this year, because I think this year is the year for your physical health. Okay, so thank you so much. So everyone, please keep an eye out for my invitation for the emotional intelligence. I think that's the next round of things that we're going to do. So I really hope to see all of you there. You're going to see how it links together. The stress, the awareness. Yes, I will definitely send you the EQ links. And then we will talk. And I hope that you will have some feedback for me about your health and what it is that you've done this year. So take some homework away with you and go do things. These things are fun. You can just sit and Google all of these things. You can Google what it is that you can eat and what you can do. So fantastic. It was so great to see everyone here. The slides and the video, we can send it via the HR Talk to you. So just send us an email if you want it. We will send it to you, and we'll see you next week. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for listening and joining us.